In this week's webcast, we have Tony Mayo, and we're going to talk about email marketing. The best click-through rates, the best open rates, and the best tool to use. Let's go. So today I have Tony Mayo, my good friend Tony Mayo from Virginia. Hi, Tony.
Hello, good to see you.
Good to see you too. So Tony is a good friend of mine from Heroic Public Speaking. We took the Heroic Public Speaking graduate course together. Actually, he was a fellow, a little bit more advanced than I am. And we became good friends, and we are actually in a rehearsing group. So we actually call each other once a week and we rehearse. So that's how Tony and I know each other. But Tony posted something interesting on the Facebook group about email marketing, and prompted me to say, well, let's do a webcast about that, because there's a lot of people and I'm seeing a lot of email marketing coming up. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So Tony, talk to me about email marketing and what are you trying to do and what are the questions, maybe areas of frustration or things you don't understand. So talk to me a little bit about what the purpose of your interest in around email marketing is.
Well, I went from pioneer to feeling like a laggard. I had a newsletter by email delivered in 1996.
Wow.
And if I really look at it, about the only thing I've improved with the technology of that is now it's an HTML. Other than that, it's just a broadcast email. Same thing goes out to everyone on the same day. I have no comparison A/B testing. I don't have a lot of information about who's reading or how they react. And I see all these tools out there, and I look at them now and then. I dig into Infusionsoft. I look at the Contextually and ConvertKit and think, what's the next step for me? Especially since I'm looking to move more of my coaching online.
Got it.
Do webinars and groups with video. I
Right.
feel like email can promote that, but I'm not sure what to do.
So what type of business you have? I mean, explain to people what you do, so at least they have a sense of what you provide as a service.
I'm an executive coach to business owners. These are people with established businesses, generally large enough where they have a team of managers they're relying upon. And I help them to be, as one said to me, better to work for and easier to live with. So they can run a larger, more lucrative business in less time with less stress.
Very cool. Very, very, very cool. Okay, I get that. So, and what is it that you want to communicate with your email marketing? You want to promote your services? You want to have conversations? You want to invite them to do things? What are the objectives that you have?
Well, I want more people to work in companies that are run by leaders like my clients, who care about their employees, who realize they're in it for more than just the money. That's what the real goal is. And whatever tool you can give me to get to more people with that message and help them operate that way, the more satisfied I'll be.
All right, cool. So let's talk about the tool first, right? So there's tons of tools out there. You have Infusionsoft, you have Aweber, you have all the one that you've named, and in my opinion, they're all good. I mean, I would do your homework and whatnot, but Infusionsoft and Aweber are both tools that I would highly recommend because they're great. Here are the things that you need to look. So you need to look at, in my opinion, what these tools need to tell you. First, they need to have an A and B testing, and the A and B testing is you will have two versions of your email, right? The version A and the version B. So it could be the subject line that's different or the content of the email, and that's really important because you need to have. See, your message and your audience is unique. They're going to respond differently to what I have to say. So you have to figure out, do they respond better to this or do they respond better to that? Because ultimately, they may be completely open to a format that is foreign to what I want to do, right? So the A and B is, you need to have a system that gives you the A and B option, and you need to use that every single time. Like I'm going to say at least 100 times until you said, okay, that's the format that works, right? And 100 times is the line in the sand, right? The second thing...
Antoine, do I need a large number of subscribers to do valid A/B testing?
No, absolutely not. So by the way, do not ever buy an email list. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. So I would look at a database of 10,000 people being less valuable than a list of 1,500. But if those 1,500 people are actually people interested in what you have to say, I said that 1,500 is going to be a lot more valuable. So, like that. The second thing you need to have is the click-through rate, what we call the CTR, right? So you need to be able to know, what is my click-through rate, right? So the click-through rate is they actually are clicking on links. You're giving them a link to click on something. So you need to know that, right? And the third thing is the open rate, right? What is the percentage of open rate? That is really, really important. So the open rate, it needs to tell you that. It needs to tell you the click-through rate, because what you measure will improve. It's a great thing, right? If you actually know the percentage of that, you're going to be able to improve on that. Like, say, for example, if you have an open rate of 5%, well, that sucks, right? It's just not good, right? I mean, it's just really, really bad. So it's like, well, what I just did here didn't work. Now, what can I do differently? So let's do something different and see if I can get to 10%. And then next time you do it, you get 10%. So, okay, that's better. Let's do more of that, right? So, and then we'll talk about the CTR and the open rate. What is a decent percentage? But overall in tools, Aweber, Infusionsoft, these are going to be, there's tons of products on the market. There are, I've seen people using the MailChimp. MailChimp is also a good tool that will give you that. So they have different price point. Infusionsoft is a bit pricier, and it has a lot more to it than just an email marketing. So you want to look at what are your needs. And sometimes people will get excited. They'll get Infusionsoft. It's like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. But it's like, it could be overkill. So Aweber would be a standalone, or a MailChimp would be a standalone email marketing, maybe all you need, right? This will be significantly cheaper. So that's...
Antoine, one of the places I feel like I'm falling behind is I do strictly a broadcast. How do you feel about that versus the sequential or campaign-oriented emails?
Well, it's two different purposes. One, in my opinion, is a message. So it's you sending out a message. So for example, Seth Godin will have that. It's not inside of a campaign. You know what I mean? You may have that on the side, but there is the weekly or monthly or quarterly communication that you have, where you are basically communicating to your base. And then there is the creating the funnels, what I'll call, the messaging. With Infusionsoft, what I'll do it that when someone clicks on your website or subscribe to your list, or if they become a lead and they're getting this email, and based on their behavior, they'll get a second email and then a third one and a fourth one. And ideally is to get them to a call to action, like register for my webinar. That's two different things here, right? So obviously Infusionsoft would be significantly better to manage something like that, which would be a funneling of people through a messaging where you have 7, 10, 12, 14 layers of emails that are going to them, and based on their behavior, it's just take them. So by the way, this is an enormous amount of work. People underestimate that. I mean, this is a huge, it's the thing. It's either you have time or money. So if you have money, hire someone to do it for you, hire a professional that knows what they're doing, or if you have time, then learn how to do it and then do it for yourself. Create all those emails. But this is a skill set. This is not if you've never done it, you're going to need to have an enormous amount of education in how to do it right. And again, a lot of trials and errors. So I would say, if you've never done those things, might want to hire someone to help you out. You could hire them on a freelance basis, on an hourly basis, or hire an agency. An agency is going to be a lot more money, but they'll do everything for you. So that's that. Does that answer your question around the systems?
It does. That's a keen insight between general messaging versus a particular drive to an action you'd like them to take.
Yeah.
And Seth Godin's a perfect example. I get his daily emails, and when I express interest in a program, I get into a sequence that follows up.
It's two different things. But I would say, I would, here would be my recommendation. If you've never done anything, I would say starts with the communication. Don't go right into the funnel. And the first thing is like, you have to grow an audience. You have to provide value to people. Like if you go right off the bat and you say, okay, I'm just going to go for the kill, which is like buy my crap. And it's like, dude, I don't have a relationship with you yet. You haven't provided me value with providing me insights and resources that are valuable to me. So we haven't developed a relationship where I'm ready to buy for you. If you do that 10 to 12 times for me, send me emails that are valuable, or providing insights, or providing stuff that means something to me, then when you send me an email to invite me to sign up for a webinar, I'm going to be a lot more receptive. So I would say build an audience first. Spend your first 3 to 6 months in terms of strategy of providing value, sending emails that are just communicating. Don't ask for anything. Provide value. Okay. So that's the conversation about the tools, and then a bit of the strategy. Now let's talk about the communication, because I think this is where you go, and I think this is where the vast majority of people need to start. So let's talk about the communication and how I'm going to communicate. Here's one thing that you need to understand. One of the things that I've learned in email marketing, and it's really a key insight, and I think that a lot of people don't understand that. You need to know that. Is that
I love that search term.
Which one?
Our guy's marketing sample's bad.
Yeah, bad. Right. I actually have done that, because I have done that presentation before, and I have one that's actually as good. The vast majority of us will delete or keep an email, or will read the email based on the name and the subject line alone, which means that 70% of the people will not even look at your email before they delete it. And that is, you need to understand that. That's the key. It's the X factor. It's the magic bullet, right? Right there, what you're looking at on my screen is what people are going to use to make the decision. Do I open that, or do I delete it? Or do I save it, right? So what that means is that, so the first key, which is really important, is we'll look at score, because this is one that's particularly awful. And let me tell you why. The first thing is score South Florida. So it's not a name. So here is the thing that you need to know: a name versus a company. If it's a company versus a name, like if it's just like John Doe versus Score South Florida, the immediate reaction that I have is that I know that this is a company and not a person. So right now I have made a decision that this is probably a promotional email. And if I am stressed with time, and I don't know how you are with time, but it's like most of us don't have enough time, the decision is going to be made right there. Boom, it's gone. They probably are trying to sell me some crap.
The mantra I have on this is something a friend told me, says, no one wants to read their email. They want to get done with their email.
You got it. So first of all, if this is John Doe or Carmen Lopez, which you have below, then I'm saying, I don't know, like this is a person. So it's a person communicating to me as opposed to a company. So I would say it doesn't matter. Like it shouldn't be, we know both we're connected to Heroic Public Speaking. If I have an email that comes in my inbox that says it's coming from Heroic Public Speaking versus it's coming from Michael Port, the chances are, if it's coming from Michael Port, I'm going to say, well, let me save that because it's probably something I need to read, right? As opposed to Heroic Public Speaking, it's probably inviting me or you get the thing, right? So if you're looking at this one, it says Score South Florida, and then it repeats that. It repeats the name here, Score Marketing Roundtable, right? So it's like, well, you're repeating, you're not using the subject line. Now, the second thing we look at is the subject line, and the subject line is going to be the use decision. Am I reading this? So it says Score Marketing Roundtable. Do I have an interest for a marketing roundtable? It's just like, okay, it's just another promotion. I don't have time, as opposed to, this one actually would be probably pretty good. Why people quit? Now that's interesting. I put in the bad. No, it's because of the layout that I put in the bad. But this is great. Steve Siebold, Why People Quit. It's interesting. I would say, okay, now you perked my interest, and I click on it, and I'm getting this I don't even know what to call this, but it is let me put the video back on. It's got a massive logo here at the top. It's written as a letter. I would say, like, this is someone that learned how to do copywriting in the 70s, right? So it's like, Dear Coach. I'm not a coach. You know what I mean? It's coming to me and they're calling me Dear Coach. Right off the bat, you lost me. I'm not a coach, and it's got a date and a thing, and it's like, it looks like a whole letter that I have to read, and it's like a lot of words and a lot of this stuff, and it's like, ugh, I don't have time for this stuff. So, but let's go back to the score, because this one is, I see a lot of that, which is, I am going to use, let me make the video a little bit smaller. I'm going to broaden it so we can see the whole thing here. It's, what this email is here is it's someone that is trying to use a newsletter format and send it as an email. And there is a place for a newsletter. And the place for a newsletter is printed on a piece of paper and mailed to people. Email marketing was never intended for your, I'm trying to not speak French here, for your newsletter. It wasn't. The word E for email is expeditious. It's not it's not conducive, and it's not designed for that. It's designed to have a quick communication and getting to the point. Now, the second,
I also noticed this has columns in it, which is going to be deadly on a phone.
right, and this is exactly where I'm going to that.
Oh, there you go.
Look at this. This is my phone, right? I mean, it's unreadable. I can't read this stuff. I mean, and look at all this information and things. None of that is readable on the phone. You're looking at my phone. I can't read any. I mean, it's not good, like all the spacing. The other thing that I see a lot of people doing, and you'll see that in the good, is the big logo at the top, right? It's like score, it's like, as in, like, I give a crap about that. I don't care, like, get to the point. I don't have time for that. You know how we're starving for time. So get to the point. Immediately take all the HTML, all the color, all the newsletter stuff, get it out of the way, get to the point. Immediately give me value. Like, tell me, okay, this is that, and if you tell me your story, it's even better, because now you've got me engaged. So now let's look at some of the good stuff that I've seen out there. Let me pull up Lauren Teague. I think I like that. The only thing about this week's hello, I would say, you're telling me, okay, so it's basically, it's a newsletter. So it's a much better format for a newsletter. I would say I'll probably reduce the picture, because I think I have to deal with the review and her big picture. But what I like in this is it's super mobile friendly, and it's just text. There's not a lot of graphics, and then it gets right into a story. What a whirlwind week! My very favorite kind. I spent the majority in New York City. So, it gets to the point. There's no Dear Antoine. There's not that. It just gives me the stuff. This was a good. I really liked the layout of how this looked on a mobile phone. It was very, very, very good. James Wedmore here. Here is, podcast. So first it tells me it's a podcast. It tells me immediately what I'm going to be getting out of that. How to think like Einstein, right? So this is and it's James Wedmore. He actually has a company. He could have put his company in the forefront. Look at this, right? James Wedmore, and immediately what he does is, I'm living over in New York City in the next few weeks. He doesn't spend time in telling me this is his newsletter, Dear Antoine, any of that stuff. He gets to the point. So how to think like Einstein. I'm living in New York City in the next few weeks, soaking up the city, enjoying the energy, the wonderful people, place, things to do. This week's episode, link, boom, I'm in there. What James is doing, he's in my world. And he told me immediately what the email was going to be about. It's a link to a podcast. And there is a link. So this is an amazing format. So if there was a format for you to use, I would say, remember the subject line. Yeah, make the subject line count. Like, tell me what this email is going to be about, what insight you're going to give me. The bracket is an amazing thing to do. Like, you could say, it could be a resource, it could be a podcast, it could be a link, and whatever. It's an invitation. Like, just tell me what this is about. Give me a quick subject line and get right to the point. This format, in terms of the length of the text there, is great, because I had an insight with Jody, which and Jody shared something which was absolutely brilliant, I think, in email marketing. What she told me, that there was an email marketing she signed up with, with this guy that she highly respected and hadn't read his email marketing for the past 6 months. And I asked her, why didn't you do it? And she says, because every time I receive it, it's a page and a half long. And every time I'm completely overwhelmed by the content, I'm like, oh, I don't have time for that. And then so she says, I'll get to that later, which is not going to happen with James. So if you see that, if you open that email, you say, I don't have a lot of stuff to go through. I can click on that and I can get, it gets right to the point. Now, you could have some stuff underneath, more content, but I would say, give that, then put a line and say, I have more stuff if you want to scroll down and look at more additional content that I've written. But in essence, what I told you this was about is right here at the top, and it's bite size. It's not.
Antoine, what do you think about scrolling down for that additional content versus having them click through to a web page for the additional content?
I would test it. I think that some people will respond differently. I would say, test it. Just do the James Wedmore and see the type of response you get. And then do the lengthy stuff, with more links and more click-throughs and more images, and see how people respond to it. I use that format for me, and actually I'm getting really decent click-through rates and decent open rates. So it's telling me that it's a format. I'm actually getting a lot of responses. Now, I built my business in the early 2000s on email marketing, right? I mean, I built a $500,000 annual reoccurring revenue on email marketing. I had a database of 140,000 emails, right? So I have done the spammy stuff, like sending thousands of emails and whatnot. I was, really the thing. And then I stopped for many years. And now I'm getting back into emails, and then I'm doing it in that format, what you're seeing with James, where I'm more narrative, more, telling people what's on my mind, what I'm doing and whatnot. And it's unbelievable the number of people that are actually replying to me. I said, well, that was interesting, nice insight, good thing, I enjoyed this and whatnot. And never had that before. So the narrative and telling a story and actually being authentic and sharing with people is really the way to go. So that would be.
And it's easier too.
It's
easier than making stuff up.
Right. So I mean, I have some, obviously, you look at Noah Kagan. Essentialism. That's a difficult word to say for a French guy. Look at this email. This is brilliant. I tell you, and by the way, this guy is a ninja at email marketing. Noah Kagan, you can follow him, and he's using Aweber, right? So this is a guy that actually was employee number 7 at Facebook, I think, and he's starting his thing. You can follow him, okdork.com. Look at his email, Aweber, and that's it. Exo Noah. So I would say that is freaking brilliant. By the way, Herrick Public Speaking does a great work, does great with that. I think they're doing really beautiful. Neville Medora actually does a great job at that. Look at the subject line, look at the name. He's used, Neville Medora used Infusionsoft. So, it's another big guy out there. So I'm also, when I'm giving you my feedback, I'm just looking at what people are using. And Aweber, I'm seeing a lot of people using that in Infusionsoft. So I think that either of these tools are really, really great tools. Neville, for example, this email is the format that we're talking about. But look at that. It's just, it's very user-friendly. There's a PS at the end. There's some images that you can click on, and it's an invitation for an event. The link is all the way at the top. Brilliant email marketing thing. No, dear Antoine, none of that stuff. I've been to HustleCon 4 years in a row, and I'm giving away 30 tickets to HustleCon. Boom, that's it. Let's talk about a couple of things I want to talk to you. I think it's stats, which are actually important. So let's open that. So now, Tony, what I want to talk to you about, which I think is things that you need to know in terms of email marketing. That comes from Neville Medora, which is copywriting course, copy with a K, copywriting course. Brilliant guy to follow in terms of writing content. Highly recommend to people educating themselves with him. Did stats on thousands of emails that were sent, and there's a few things that I want to show you that I think are really important. The open rate, actually, what it is almost every email open occurs within the first 5 hours of sending it. So you can actually look at your open rate after on the 6th hour, and it will tell you just about everything. And that's the stat right here, right? Which is actually shows the number of open rates, and it basically dies completely off after 6 hours, right? So that's the thing that you need to know is you basically have a 6-hour window of people opening your email, and after that it's gone. It's just not. It's really not going to happen. You're still going to have people that open up your email 10 days out, but it's a very, 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 very small percentage. The huge number is going to be within the first 5 hours. So you need to know that. Right? You send an email, well, 6 hours later, you can go and look at it and I'll tell you the truth. Because after that, it's not going to change dramatically. Right? And then it did that over the 2-week period. I mean, you can see that's a 2-week period, right? So it's just like, it's really the first day, and then after that, there's just nothing. So it really happens now the first 6 hours, then it's one day, and then after that, there's just really not much of anything. Right? So I think that that's an important stat to know. Now, the next stat that I want to tell you is the time to send, and people asking me that. Again, you have to test, right? You have to test various things, right? Apparently, it's or let me make that a little bit bigger. It's 8 a.m. Right? It's the hot time to send. So the curve, right? It starts at 4 a.m. It starts to curve, which is basically what everybody gets up in the morning. They're looking at their phone, and then so it seems that the hot time is 8 a.m. Now, here is the caveat that I need you to know and understand about that, is that I am seeing the number of emails coming in my inbox at 7 to 8 a.m. to be enormous, huge. So I would say that, Gary Vaynerchuk said that marketers ruin everything. So I'm seeing a lot of people doing that. So you might want to test 7, 8 a.m., see how that works for you, and then try a 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or maybe at 5 o'clock when they're getting the end of the day, when they're checking their emails, or they're in the train, or they're going back home. Maybe they'll read your email. So you want to try a couple of things. So this is why the A and B testing. Send this email at 7 a.m., send this one at 5 p.m. See how your people respond to it, because your people are going to respond differently than mine, which will respond differently to Laurent Teague, which will respond differently to Jake, right? So you want to try this thing, but what the data is telling us is right now, 8 a.m., 7 to 8 a.m. is really a hot time to send emails. Now, the next thing is the time, the day of the week to send it, right? And this is all from copywriting course and everything. Monday, Tuesday, great. Thursday, great. Wednesday, meh. Friday, meh. And then Saturday, Sunday, nope. Now, I receive an email every week on Sunday from a bookkeeping and accounting, and I'm always scratching my head. It's like, Sunday at 6 o'clock, really? Like, is that the best? I mean, a bookkeeping, like, I want to read bookkeeping stuff and accounting. But again, it would be the data. Every time I'm thinking, maybe you want to consider sending that on a different day and kind of testing it. But by the way, she's been doing this for months and years now. I've always received that email on Sunday, so maybe it works for her. But the data shows that we're more responsive to Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Again, testing in your world would be important. Obviously, Friday is not a good day. People are already thinking of the weekend, and Wednesday, I'm not quite sure, but the data is telling us. So test things.
Yeah, testing's one. I shifted from Tuesday to Saturday, and my open rates went up.
You shifted from what?
I shifted from Tuesdays to Saturdays, and my open rates improved. So yeah, you got to test your market.
You got to test your market. And the truth for Tony Mayo is that Saturday works for him. So again, the testing is the really key important. What it's telling you here is that the data on those, on the vast majority, the big group of emails, is that's telling us that those days are better for most people than the other. But, and I would say, try a Tuesday. Try a Tuesday at 7 a.m. Try a Tuesday at 5 p.m. Kind of like see how that works for you. Is it working better than Saturday? Again, if you have an A/B testing, you'll know.
Right.
Best time to send an email is between 12 a.m. and 7 a.m. The sweet spot is 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. So this is one that's actually important, which is what you were talking about, the click-through rate. The click-through rate, that's 3 to 10% is the standard. So it's the standard overall. So if you're getting over 10%, you're doing really good. If you're getting less than 3%, something needs to be improved. So if you want to know what the mean is 3 to 10%. So if you're getting 7 to 8%, well, it's decent. You might want to say, okay, what can I do to actually, maybe improve? If you look at the Noah Kagan, the link was right at the top, right at the beginning. Like it gets in, first 2 lines, boom, there's a click-through rate. I bet you their click-through rate is really, really good for them. It's probably 20, 25%. Right? These guys are kicking butt. So, try different things. Put the link, towards the top. See if that works. The emails open. The first 1 to 5 hours, we already covered that. It's generally good to wait 2 full days to get the email open rate. All right, and the last one I want to talk to you is the open rate, because I think that that's the measuring stick. This is based on the data that Neville Medora did. This gives you the average open rate out there, right? So if you're below 14%, it's very low. I would say something's up. You either have a database that's not very good, or you have an email marketing that's very good. The average would be between 15 to 20%. Which is, so if you get 15 to 20% open rate, you're doing good. And on the high end would be 21 to 35%. So the open rate is different than the click rate. So is
something I'm doing right.
Yeah, you're doing right. Well, that means you have a good quality database. If you have an
they're all double opt-in. So.
Right. So that tells you, so that that's the measuring stick. So by the way, you send an email and one day you're looking at it and like, wow, I got 14% on this one. What happened? So it's something for you to know. So if you have that data, then at least you know where you stand, and which is why it's important to have those softwares that are giving you that data, so you can actually see, how am I doing? Because your truth is not the same as mine. And that's, in essence, email marketing. So did that give you good insights for you to do email marketing and to elevate your game?
It does. And as so often happens, when you learn a bit more about a topic, you realize there's a lot more.
Right.
So I'm wondering if I should shift from researching email marketing techniques to researching email marketing companies that will do the work for me, because I already have a profession.
Right. And that's
Any ideas on how to find someone to help you with your online marketing or inbound marketing in general?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. You have people out there that are doing that as a freestanding service. In my agency, we provide that as a service, as an overall scope of services. We don't do a lot of email marketing for our client. We just do it to kind of promote some of the stuff that they're up to. Mostly what we do here is SEO, Facebook marketing, video marketing, writing content. We're amazing at writing content, but email marketing is not a standalone service. So I would say there's got to be some people in your area that you could source that could help you, draft a good weekly message, something that is easy that you could come up with. But if you're looking at the Noah Kagan and the Neville Medora or the James Wedmore, it's not a lot. You don't have to come up with a lot. Just come up with the thought of the week, and I'm coming up with that. Provide value to me. Think of Seth Godin.
Yeah.
Could you come up with Seth Godin format on a weekly basis? I bet you could, right? You don't need an enormous amount of help. Do that for 3 to 6 months. Start to build an audience, and that I think would be the way to go.
All right, very good. I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Tony. Thank you for your time and spending time with me. And good luck with your email marketing. I can't wait to receive them in my inbox and give you some feedback.
I couldn't resist. I already opened up some of my stats, and I'm going to look over them compared to what you've told me really matters.
All right, very cool. Well, good luck to you. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.